There are problems with the pronoun things, though. Like, you, for a while on Twitter, could get deplatformed, like the Babylon Bee got deplatformed, if you stated that a man who became a woman was still a man. Things like that. And the problem with that, and again, I
agree.
I am not a transphobe, and I have no, like, I will happily call whoever by their preferred pronouns. But
Right.
I don't think it should be punishable legally or through deplatforming if you don't adhere to that, because then the problem is, and this is what I think they're trying to do, they're trying to destroy objective reality. You see this now in math. There are professors that are coming out and saying math is racist and we need to use critical race theory in maths. Some even came out and tweeted that 2 + 2 can equal 5. Things like this. This is happening.
Like my truth versus your truth.
Exactly.
And all that kind of
so
stuff.
they're trying to take away the idea of gender reality, man,
Right.
woman. They're trying to take away the idea of mathematics. They're trying to destroy the Western canon. Shakespeare, Dante, Charles Dickens. They're trying to replace with whatever communist writers or people who they just select because of their minority status. And the problem with that is it's moving us closer and closer to an Orwellian future. There's the passage in Orwell. I'm going to butcher this, but it's basically like war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is power. And if you can get rid of 2 + 2 = 4 and get rid of a man as a man and a woman as a woman, you can eventually move on to bigger lies like war is peace, ignorance is power, fucking whatever the other one was.
That's
Yeah,
why
that
it
happens.
seems like most people are, for the most part, normal. And then all of a sudden there's this like super concentrated group of like woke chicks or whatever that are like super left. And it's because it's all in the schools. It's from like elementary through high school and college. Like when Dino was going to high school here in LA, he had to draw his like gender identity and what he identified as.
What'd you draw, Dino?
Donald Trump.
The best. Continue though, Austin. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, they'll have to draw their gender identity. They have these weird like icebreaker things, but really they're sort of just like a political cult ritual where it's like we're all going to stand around in a circle and present our pronouns to each other. And it's these weird sort of hippy dippy things that they're doing in school that these kids coming out of school and college right now, they just don't think the way like you
Yeah,
guys
but what
do.
would you want the reverse to be? Like, oh, you're a man, say you're a man, and
Just
you
don't
know,
mention
you
it.
could be in an Islamic country where it's like you're female and you have no rights, forever. I mean, when you're getting people to think about things and think about them critically, I mean, I
It's
see
the opposite,
some
though. You're
value.
only
I
allowed
would
to think about it in one very specific way. Otherwise, you're socially like ostracized and everybody hates you, or they'll try to get you kicked out of the school. You're not allowed to have like an opposing view. It's you're gonna think this way, not here's an idea. How do you think about it? It's here's the idea. You're gonna think about it this way. Otherwise, all your friends are going to hate you.
Yeah.
And that's why it's really bad with chicks, because chicks will socially ostracize all of their friends. If you don't have one line in view, then they just they fall in lockstep. Because like, I mean, I'm only 22. So I talked to a lot of like other chicks that are in school. You saw Mia's homework. Like some of the stuff on there is probably ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's authoritarianism can exist on the left and on the right.
authoritarian populism can, right? And I do see it in the social, wokeism. I see it on that side too, but it resides on both.
And I'm with you, dude. I'm not saying I'm not one of those guys who is like the gays are tearing at the fabric of society, like gay sex is morally not okay. Not one of those guys. Not one of the great white nation, stop the immigrants. Totally not like that. But the way that it's being carried out now, it just seems to me like their priority is to destroy Western civilization out of revenge. That seems to be what's happening. Women want revenge on men. The minorities are being encouraged to take revenge on everybody else. Am I going too far here? It seems like there's this revenge
because we
thing.
beat their ass.
It's a little bit. It's like the powers that be, you could say, they understand that there are certain issues in certain countries that are more sort of able to get at under people's skin and shit. So like race in America is like a really big issue because a lot of people feel emotionally.
Yeah, but who's
charged
feeding
towards
this
that.
narrative? And
think
how much
that-
is Russia feeding this narrative? And
well,
do
that's
they
what I
have
mean.
bots
There it
online
is. A lot of it's
feeding
China,
this
too.
narrative?
They have
And
bots. We know
you
they
know
have
what I
bots,
mean?
yeah.
Like it's
We
like
got
Yeah,
what
China,
is
or
this
China, or
narrative?
China, right?
And
or,
this
or
is
the CCP, right?
Yeah, that's why critical thinking is so important.
But the thing is too.
because
The thing is too.
being
there
able
was
to
a-
parse this information out.
There are also professors, like I believe her name is Brittany Cooper at Rutgers, who went on a Zoom call and said that white people are villains and we have an inherent need to destroy, and that whiteness needs to be ended in America.
Yeah,
there
well,
are absolutely
I think-
intellectuals that are saying things
There's
like
a
that,
lot
and they're
of
not
intellectuals that are against progress. Like I'm not arguing that. That's true.
But like you said, but if you have critical thinking on your side, you know that that's bullshit, right? You know immediately that doesn't make sense.
I don't think school should even be focused on progress at all. It should just be like
Critical
you need
thinking.
skills for a job. Here's how you do it. Like half of everybody's schedule, it's like, okay, you have like a math class, a science class, and it's like Mexican American history and like women's studies and
As
like
a Latinx
all of
man,
this
I like
filler
that one.
stuff just to make more money. And then the people that get degrees in this stuff, they only just become educators that teach the same
Well, I
stuff
guess
to
it
other people.
depends on what you mean by progress, right? And if we should be pushing progress and pushing ourselves into
Well, that's what
the
I mean.
future, right?
I
It's
think
like,
we
what
should
do you
generally, but I don't
mean?
think the schools, like the purpose of school is to get an education. When I went to school, my English class, my teacher got rid of our textbook and replaced it with only readings about like 17th century feminism. And then every essay was just like, men are bad.
Wait,
Here's
where
why
was this,
This
though?
is in Texas. Like
Oh, and in what high school you said?
college.
Oh, it was in college.
This is
junior college, junior
yeah.
college.
Yeah.
And it was one class over how many months?
Well, I mean, it was a one semester class.
And then did you take another class? Like you said, this was English literature.
Yeah.
Did you take another English literature class after that?
I don't think so. I think I left college probably before I took a second English class.
So I mean, there's a lot of ideas and things that people
But
promote,
I
and you
spent
got
an
to
entire
take it with a
semester and
grain.
she never actually
Right.
taught
Yeah.
anything. There was no
It's
grammar
changed since you
lessons,
graduated.
But
no
don't let that
writing
one
lessons.
person
Yes.
skew your whole version for the next 20 years of your
dude,
life.
you like it's changed since you were in college and since I was in college. My
It
girlfriend
was
is
all of my
unfortunately-
classes. It was
it's
High school
gnarly,
was
dude.
really bad, dude. It was
It's
super left.
It's really changed, man. When I went to UCLA, it was apolitical for the most part. Nobody
Right,
talked
same.
about politics.
Same,
It was
never.
all objective.
It was-
Dude, what are you talking about? When I went to college, it was like the war was going on. I was talking to a guy today, and he mentioned something interesting because he was like, yeah, he was joking about us millennials being so traumatized and all that. But he said, you guys grew up with war in your face, even though you never saw it.
We never saw
it was
it.
all over the media. You were
was.
bombarded with it
Yeah,
in your
Iraq.
formative years.
Yeah.
And I thought,
that's all about
I was
Afghanistan,
laughing, and I was
Iraq,
like,
yeah.
that's kind of an interesting, little play, but there is some truth to that.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
But still, I think
So I feel like, our colleges were totally politicized. There was like war, anti-war. It was like John Kerry, George Bush.
Yeah.
It was fucking crazy, dude. It was
Yeah.
crazy back then. People were like picketing and
people were very anti-Bush.
I think we
when I
forget.
remember, yeah.
We have a short memory.
Maybe.
I also
dude.
think a lot of these problems with education stem all the way back to like the like Martin Luther King days and stuff like that. Like in the mid 60s and 70s, like a lot of these sort of it's multi-generational, like people the professors teach the students and then the students become the professors and then the
Yeah.
professors teach the next generation and they purposely try to keep the things that they go pushing. So colleges have been politicized for like 100 years or even
Since the beginning of time, dude.
Yeah.
They've always been.
But it should be
It's
about
just they were
how to
arguing
think
about,
and
like,
not
different
what to
things
think,
back
right?
then.
It should be about how to think.
Yeah, hopefully
not
we get there. Yeah.
what to think.
I don't know. I don't know what that means exactly. But yeah, Austin, I know what you're talking about. I forget who it was. Was it Jesse Jackson? It was one of these civil rights leaders. They went and protested at Stanford University, I think in the 80s, to overturn a Western civilization course. Or it was going to be a series of courses on Western civilization, and I believe that opened the door to we need to stop glorifying Western civilization.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, and like
Jesse
what he was
Jackson's
saying, there
done
were
some
people
effed up
picketing
stuff.
and stuff. Like the professors there that are like these 78-year-old ladies or whatever, they're the same 22-year, like back when they were 22, they were probably marching and stuff for the same sort of stuff, fighting similar battles.
And it was good. Like I talked about this in the Berkeley video. It was good back then. Like, and I'm not saying that racism is done and systemic racism isn't a thing. Like, I totally agree that's a thing, but it's changed a lot. It used to be the free speech movement at Berkeley was for free speech and civil rights, and the end to a Vietnam War that was super gnarly. But now it's canceling comedians. It's scrolling through your Twitter feed.
Yeah, it's like anti what the message
Free
should
speech.
be. Yeah,
Right.
it's like
absolutely. And it's gone so far to the other side that we have people who claim to be on the left, the tolerant left, saying that white people are evil and we need to do away with them, and that men are pieces of shit, and that we need to light Shakespeare on fire because this new pansexual poet who identifies as a werewolf wrote a little ditty on anal sex, and that needs to be the new coursework.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff's happening now.
So what I meant by how to think instead of what to think is the simple, like an essay, for example.
Hey, essay, what's up,
Hey,
fool?
dog.
Hey.
But the concept of it is simple, right? You're saying something, and then you are backing it up with points, and hopefully you have a bibliography, where you cite your sources,
Sure,
and you make an argument, right? That's
fair,
right? But how can they? How's it gone so far from that? You know?
Yeah, no, I get you.
You used to be able to say whatever you wanted as long as you made a good point. You were able to back up you had facts.
Who did win though, and why? I mean, wasn't our comedians were arrested? And it was
basically you'll just like fail your
20
class
years ago.
Like you'll just fail.
Yeah, no, what you're talking about too, right? What you're talking about too, like Lenny Bruce getting arrested for saying the F word on stage. Obviously, that sucks too. We can agree that shit sucked back then. We can agree that the jingoists after 2001, 9/11, that wanted to kill all towel heads, we can agree they were pieces of shit. Like the hardcore right sucked. But we can also say that and also say the left has gone too far in some cases today.
Yes.
In almost all cases.
I don't think it's necessarily all just bad politics. It's this sort of this normalization that those who disagree with you, not only are they wrong, but they're morally evil.
Yeah.
Like they shouldn't even think of them as like normal people. They shouldn't be allowed to speak. And then that's why I say the left, they always think that they're like, oh, we're the good guys. We're the anti-racist or whatever. It's like, no, you're just hateful towards people who are socially acceptable to be hateful towards.
Well, you have to be like really careful, right? Because they'll fall into that trap. Like if they start saying all white people deserve to die, like they're just using the same playbook that was used against them 100 years ago, or if it was a minority is saying it. And you have to be really careful. I think it was like Kanye said when he was talking about the Jews, he said hurt people. But okay, cool. Like some people are like, that's so profound, but it's like, yeah, but that's like, we're supposed to be better angels of our nature and not think that way. So you got to forgive, right?
Can you pull up this Brittany Cooper Rutgers University clip, Austin, real quick? We should end on this, dude. It's unbelievable. I love when Austin types. It's like all capital letters. Brittany Cooper, Rutgers, and go videos. The last time I looked for it, was a lot of commentary on it, but it's unbelievable.
Okay, so she's like full on feminist.
Yes, she's a professor, like at a major university, and she said this. Nice, Rutgers with a K.
It's all right.
Oh, Rutgers? Is it right here?
No, go to YouTube, dude.
Okay.
Let me. Dude, this is really crazy. And then see, let's keep scrolling down. Let's see, what's 5? Let's go to that one right there, the 5-minute long one. I want one that without any sort of editorialization. Here, let's try this one. Looks good.
Look at the name of
white people are committed to being villains
of the
in
channel.
The aggregate,
oh God,
right? The real sort of
either.
issue here, and I've heard people sort of say it is one. I think that white people viscerally feel.
Oh, do we have any
it's
headphones?
Not that white people don't.
Yeah, give them.
Yeah, let's let our
Dino, you don't need to hear this.
Yeah, you definitely don't. This will make you too angry. Let's rewind it a little bit, Austin. Yeah, this. Thank you for pointing out. This is a very questionable channel name, but this is an undoctored clip. So let's see.
I think that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate, right? The real sort of issue here, and I've heard people sort of say it is one. I think that white people viscerally fear. It's not that white people don't know, right, what they have done. They know. They fear that there is no other way to be human but the way in which they are human, which is to, so, you know, like you talk to white people and whenever you really want to have a reckoning about it, they say stuff like, you know, it's just human nature. If y'all had all of this power, you would have done the same thing, right? And it's like, no, that's what white humans did. White human beings thought there's a world here and we own it. Prior to them, Black and brown people have been sailing across oceans, interacting with each other for centuries without total subjugation, domination, and colonialism. We have seen what a show this iteration of treatment of other human beings means, and that my hope is that we would do it differently, you know, in the moments when we have some power. We will not do it perfectly, but I do think that all of us can sort of agree that a politics that says like there are superior and inferior human beings just isn't the way to go. And that's the thing that white people don't trust us to do because they are so corrupt. You know, their thinking is so morally and spiritually bankrupt about power that they can't let, you know, they fear viscerally, existentially letting go of power because they cannot imagine that there's another way to be. It is either that you dominate or you are dominated. And isn't it sad that is spiritually who they are and that they can't imagine a sort of more expansive notion of the world? The thing I want to say to you is we got to take these motherfuckers out. But I know, but like, we can't say that, right? We can't say, like, I don't believe in a project of violence. I truly don't. Because I think in the end that our souls suffer from that. And I do think that some of this is a spiritual condition. So here is where I land most days about white people. And I actually have been helping this by thinking about indigenous people, right? See, part of the challenge around whiteness is that it totally skews our view of everything, right? I gave this like TED talk about this some years back. And one of the reasons I was trying to think about it is like, the world didn't start when white people arrived in America and tried to tell all the rest of us how things were going to go. There were people out here making worlds, Africans and indigenous people being brilliant, and, you know, libraries and inventions and, you know, vibrant notions of humanity and cross-cultural exchange long before white people showed up being raggedy and violent and terrible and trying to take everything from everybody. And that's really important because if we believe that history starts for us when white people drag us to these shores, then we can never get outside of the notion that this is going to be our existential struggle. All things that begin end. White folks are not infinite and eternal, right? They ain't gonna go on for infinity and infinity. Yet. And that's super important to remember that white colonialism and imperialism has a beginning. And in my way of thinking about the world, that means it has an end. And so part of what we are trying to do is to imagine what are the steps that we must take to get to the other side of this very inconvenient, you know, epochal interruption of like Black and indigenous world making. I mean, does that give people comfort on the day to day when you like just having to deal with white folks and the travesties that they create and the sense that they want to destroy the planet? Nah, there is a world beyond even our sojourn on the earth. And so whiteness is going to have an end date because it is not, despite what white people think of themselves, they do not defy the laws of eternity, right? Their projects are not so sophisticated that the natural laws of physics change for them. And when we sort of humble them humble our own understandings of whiteness, it seems like the biggest giant that we face. But in the end, right, it is what I like to say is, you know, Black folks were out here for centuries and centuries and millennia doing all kinds of wonderful things and probably some fucked up things too. But whiteness is largely an inconvenient interruption. And so we then get to ask ourselves, so why am I here in this moment of it? Like, damn, you know, why did I show up in this particular iteration? And it's like, well, I think we showed up in this iteration precisely so that we could, help to figure out an end and a way to the other side of this, you know, gargantuan historical tragedy that is white.
It's such a America is just such a tragedy, dude. It's just such a bad place.
Like Reza said, though, if you looked at her Rate My Professor, you know what I mean? I'd still take her class if she was an easy grade. If she was going to give me an A, you would too. We both would.
You would have to go in there acting so Hispanic.
Oh, you know I would. Dude.
Show me how you'd go into Bernie Cooper's class.
I'd be like, hello, how are you? I'm from Argentina, and I want to say I love your class, and I see your YouTube stuff, and you're great. But seriously, I could change her mind about white people.
Hey, Fabio, so good to see you. Professor Cooper, you look beautiful,
You're so
Queen.
great.
Yes. It's the only way we would not get failed or maybe killed in that class.
The truth is, I mean, but also, like, can't you defeat her argument with facts, right? I mean, isn't that critical thinking?
But she'll defeat you by getting you expelled.
Dude,
I thought she was going to sit on you.
That was insane, dude. A couple of things she said in there that we need to put an end to these motherfuckers and get these motherfuckers.
She sounds ignorant, though. I mean, she's not making any good points.
It's pretty fucking gnarly, dude.
She's just humbling her perspective on white people.
We don't need to analyze it bit by bit, but basically, that was clearly pretty racist. Did you get racist vibes from that?
I get these vibes where they just use this,
you did listen to it. I forgot
this term of like white people, but you have to ask yourself, what is a white person?
Yeah, what is
it's like what it, you know, I don't know. When people talk like that, I'm wondering if they have understanding of like evolution and that we're all, you know, we're all the same.
We are all the same.
And that I don't know why they're caught up in this talk, this white, black, us versus them.
And also she made it seem like every white person both enslaved black people and runs a Fortune 500 corporation.
Exactly.
Because she kept mentioning the environment and like the power.
What do you mean by that? Like, so I don't know.
And you know what nobody wants to be? White trash. But nobody wants to be white trash.
Austin and Dino can't help it.
Yeah, that's true. I live in a trailer.
Dino, you could say I think you could change your mind with a vibrator and a condom, buddy.
Reza, do you have anything you want to plug? Your documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah.